And as a favor, if you guys come up to take pictures, you need to stay low so that you don't get in the way of the cameras. We're now joined by the offensive coordinator, Lane Kiffin, running back, Derrick Henry, and the center, Ryan Kelly. Coach, welcome and to you and the University of Alabama, and if you'd like to make an opening comment or two.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, thanks for coming, guys. This has been a very exciting year. Really want to thank Coach Saban, Coach Battle, really all the Alabama fans for allowing us to come back for a second year. As I mentioned last year, I think that we have the best staff in America, and what Coach Saban's been able to put together, and just to see Coach Smart finally get his opportunity to become a head coach, wish him the best of luck. Know he'll do a great job. I think we need to give a lot of credit to our kids. And really, in the second year, you start to understand what is referred to as the process more with Coach Saban and at Alabama, and you have a couple examples of that up here in Derrick and Ryan. Reggie Ragland last week made a statement that I thought was really tells you everything that you'd want to know about the program. Alabama is really not for everybody. It takes special guys to come play at Alabama and go through the process with Coach Saban and the staff. I think that as you look at Derrick Henry, obviously a great year, what he was able to do and win the Heisman, and to be so humble in the way that he works every day is why he got there, very much like Amari Cooper last year. And Coach Burns did a great job with him. Our offensive line, led by Ryan Kelly, I think was the National Offensive Line of the Year. Great job by Coach Cristobal bringing those guys together, and also understand really there's only 2 returning starters in there, and really the rest of the offensive line had not played very much at all, so a great job bringing those guys together, and Ryan leads those guys up front and has done a great job this year. Jake Coker, I think you guys are going to see in a little bit, really is a good example of just continuing to compete. Really, was benched and not started in one game, and you think about it, Jake has won every game that he started, and so I think that was a critical moment for Jake, the way he responded, the way he played, and really how he won his team over. It was not by finesse, it was by playing extremely hard, taking a linebacker mentality to the position, and I think that he not only didn't win over his offense at that point, but winning over his defense. He had done a great job for us, a great year for him, and an honor for him to go to the Senior Bowl. The receiver group, I think, is a really special group. And you look at the 3 guys after losing Robert Foster to injury and think about how they came about this year in 3 completely different stories. Darius Stewart not really played very much. None of these guys had really played for us. Was a defensive back at one point here. Calvin Ridley was in high school a year ago. Did not get to us till the summer. Richard Mullaney was at Oregon State, transferred for his senior year. So to see those 3 guys come together and really in the last half of the year have been a difference in our offense from the first half of the year. This is going to be a very, very tough game. I think that Michigan State's defense is very similar to ours as far as the way that they're coached, how physical they play, the style that they play with, and give you a lot of problems. Obviously, extremely well coached. They are built to stop the run. They do a great job of that, have done that for years. Regardless of who has been there, they've done a great job. I think that what you got to look at is they start up front with a very dominant front 4. They can give you a lot of problems, obviously stopping the run, but also in rushing the passer. Very tough to deal with and really get off the ball. The linebacker group is a very physical group, led by number 30 inside. Very tough mentality, come down, hit you in the mouth type of defense. Again, very similar to ours. And the back end is a very aggressive unit that really can give you issues by playing a lot of quarters coverage, but man-to-man outside with their corners and getting up in your face and making you have to play. So we're going to have our hands full. Again, I'd like to thank Coach Saban for the opportunity of coming back for a second year. And you really, I really had no idea how much I would learn. And really in the second year, now you really understand, why there is no doubt he's the best coach in college football and the process he puts together and understanding how everything goes. And the best example to me is after the Ole Miss game, as he refers to as, everybody wrote us as dead and gone, and all he did is go back and work the next day, just like he does every single day, and not worry about anything else, but worrying about getting these players better and the coaches better. So, thanks.
Okay, we'll take questions. If you would, please, if you want to ask one of our student athletes a question, please don't just say for either. If you would please identify the individual, makes it a lot easier for us. Questions for the coach or the student athletes? If you got a question on the aisle, about 2 rows back on the right side.
Matt Zenitz with AL.com. Lane, you talk about just learning more in the second year. What are some of the things that you feel like you've learned, and how do you feel like you've evolved now in your second year as a coordinator?
Well, I think so little is known about Coach Saban, about what he does outside of what you see in the media, in the press conferences or during the game. To learn from him how he goes about every day as the CEO of the program, as the head coach. I made a lot of mistakes which were focusing completely on football and just worried about football and the X and O's of it. And then you see what he does, whether it's taking time to meet with another sports recruits, the focus that he has towards the donors, towards academics, towards individual meetings with our kids when things are going on, always on the phone with recruits or our own players' families when there are issues coming up. He really is, the CEO of the program, and the kids understand that process and what he's about.
Got a question 3/4 of the way back on the right-hand side.
Lane, Jay Sarkar, WLNS. Michigan State, their defense that's really stepped it up against some of the top rushing attacks in the country. They haven't faced a running back like Derrick, but what kind of difficulties in the game plan for you does that create going up against a team that really cranks it up to 11 against great rushing attacks?
Yeah, they do, and they've played some good backs. Obviously, Elliott, Ohio State, they did a great job against him. Hopefully we give the ball to Derrick more than they did. Just kidding. That was a joke. It's okay to laugh. It's early in the morning. But we're going to have our hands full, because they do play very tough, very physical up front and really get after you.
Question all the way on the rear platform on the left.
Tom Menino, WVTM TV in Birmingham. Lane, I know it was back here. I don't know if you can see me or not, way in the back. Obviously, there was a lot of talk at the preseason about the quarterbacks and how that was going to work out. Do you feel like, and also Nick Saban said he wanted Jake Coker or somebody to win the job. Was there a moment where you felt like Jake won the job? And what have you seen from him that kind of made him win the team over, I guess?
Well, as I referred to before, the style that he plays with, I think the way that when he went in that Ole Miss game and we were struggling and really brought us back, we almost came back to win, but just how we talk about running out of bounds and sliding as quarterbacks, and that's what we want you to do, and he doesn't listen to that. That's his mentality, and I believe with a team that is a defensive team, as we are, we're led by our defense, especially early in the year. As we continue to grow on offense, we only returned 2 starters, Ryan and Cam Robinson, the left tackle. Somehow Derrick Henry wasn't a starter last year, but I just think that to see them all come together around him, and especially the defensive guys, is how he won it over.
Question in the middle right-hand side, right here in the front.
Lane, this is John Talty at AL.com, right over here. Before the season started, you had some pretty lofty praise for Calvin Ridley and what his potential could be. Just after his first year, did he meet your expectations? Yeah,
Calvin did a great job in his first year and was not a mid-year, so he wasn't a January enrollee. So we didn't get him early in spring, so that's a very hard transition to go from high school to go right in and playing. Was sharing time with Robert Foster right away. Then when Robert got injured, he had to step up as the starter and really doesn't rotate. He plays about 95% of our snaps. So to see him be able to do that throughout the year in the SEC, obviously versus some really good players, just like Brennan Hargraves in that last game, he really has had a great year, and I think that he will continue to get better and better as he gets into the second year of our program.
We've got a question on the aisle, left side. If you put your hand up, the coach can maybe see.
Lane, Rick Carley, Fox 6 in Birmingham. Can Derrick carry the ball too many times in one game?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I never thought I'd see somebody carry the ball 90 times in a 7-day span, but somehow he just continues to get stronger, and that goes back to how he works, the way that he practices, the way that we're in the sprints, at the end of practice, and he's not worried about anything else except for getting himself better, and he's up there running with the Calvin Ridleys, the Kenyon Drakes, at the front of the line, and that's how his mentality is. It's how he's worked, and obviously how he was raised to just be quiet and just keep working. So I didn't think I would see that ever, 90 carries in 7 days, and then I think he could have kept going. I mean, he was in the locker room afterwards like he just was warming up.
Got a question in the middle about halfway back, right side.
Lane, Joseph Pippin with Alabama Media Group.
Isn't this easy with me here?
You mentioned already the process of Nick Saban and, some of those elements, but how do some of those expectations apply to putting together a staff? You've been a head coach at several different levels, so you have a good perspective on that.
As far as
Just putting together the right personalities, finding the right pieces to make them fit on a staff.
Yeah, I think that is a really good question, and I think learning from him on that, he brings different people from all over. A lot of the people he's kind of raised within his program, they come up from young and all the way up, and so, but then he'll go outside too, and it doesn't matter who he brings in and the personalities that he brings in and the different people from all over. They're going to coach the way he wants them to coach, every day, and we're gonna manage the game the way he wants to manage the game. So it's his program. We talked about the CEO, and so I think learning from that, I think I was much more just kind of let guys do their job. Whether it was position group coordinators on defense and stuff, he does everything and oversees everything, and so that's one of the many reasons he's so successful.
Question on the aisle left side, and then we'll come to the front.
Derrick.
Derrick,
You got a
yeah,
question
we're
for
gonna
Derrick?
get y'all. Don't worry, we're gonna have some fun. So when y'all arrived, Coach Saban said that his favorite Christmas gift was a pair of gold-toed socks. In addition to that being extremely Coach Nick Saban, my question for all three of y'all is: if you had to get Coach Saban a Christmas present, what would you have gotten him?
This will go on the ticker if I answer what I'm really thinking. Go ahead, Derrick.
I don't really know because, Coach Saban, he's just a business-like guy who wants to work every day. So, I don't know, probably a cup of coffee or something.
I was trying to think about it. I don't really know because I don't know if there's too many things that we would get that he would wear. But yesterday they presented him with a cowboy hat, so that was pretty cool to see him put it on. So maybe I'd beat them to the punch and give him a cowboy hat. I don't know.
Got a question on the front right here, and then we'll go to the side.
Two questions. First one for you, Derrick. I'm curious, Michigan State's front seven, you've played a lot of good defenses. They're one of them. What sticks out to you on film when you watch them, please?
They got a big physical front, and they do a great job. They're very disruptive, very fast, and try to control the line of scrimmage. So, we've been practicing hard, for these guys and watching film on them. Offensive line been doing a great job this whole process of blocking and practicing hard. So, they're a very good defense and do a great job for what they do.
Obviously, they have a very good, they like to blitz, they like to attack. I'm curious, as the quarterback of the offensive line, what do you notice when you look at the different blitzes that they bring and how they like to do different things?
Well, I think college football is always changing. Defenses are always evolving, so we kind of have to evolve with them. So that's where the film study comes into play. We have a lot of great analysts, a lot of great coaches who put together great game plans for us so that we can go out there on Saturday or whenever the game is and play fast and not worry about too many things. So they're a really sound defense. They do a lot of great things. They do them really well. So we're going to be up for the challenge, and I'm just going to have a great week to prepare for them.
Got a question on the aisle right side.
Two questions for Lane. First of all, how much do you feel like the offense has changed concept-wise and schematically from last year to this year and even from the beginning of the season to where you guys are now?
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot. And, one of the things Coach Saban talks about is always utilizing your players and not just trying to do what you do. And so I think the offense is a very good example of that. Much different, obviously, from last year. Very different quarterback, from Blake to Jake. Having Amari Cooper, catching 125 passes, and then a year later going to games where, we're running the ball 80% of the time in the game. We're giving it to Derrick, 46, 44 times. So really just continuing to try to grow. Spent the offseason at a couple different places. Coach Saban allows us to do that, to go get some new ideas. And so I think that was really critical coming in, is really in that opener, right here versus Wisconsin. I think as we look at that game versus a really, really good Wisconsin defense, we were not at all like we were the year before. And I think that helped us in that game, being very different and finding a way, for instance, going down to see Tom Herman and how they utilize the different motions and the fast stuff that they do. And then going into this year, using that kind of with Derrick back there behind the quarterback and Kenyon Drake or Calvin Ridley as the motion guy.
Question. With each quarterback the last few years, it seems like they progressively improved during the course of the season. What were some of the areas that you identified early on that you kind of worked on with both guys during the course of the year to get them to the point where they had been at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think what the part with Blake, what really helped him is we transitioned to a no-huddle offense. We got him out of the huddle. We played a little bit faster. He was able to have some run-pass option stuff, not as much pro style as we've always been, or especially was here at Alabama. That's really where the change started taking place. Then we carried some of that over into this year, and then I think with Jake, it was really just playing. Neither of these guys had played really at all, besides in some backup, late in game duty. So, you're a freshman until you play, and even though Jake's a senior, he hadn't really played. So I think you see him make mistakes early like anybody would, just like a rookie would in the NFL, and then learn from those and get better. And he's done a much better job in the second half of the year of handling the defense, changing protections, being the quarterback instead of just trying to win that specific play, managing the play and managing the entire offense.
Got a question on the left-hand side on the aisle.
Jeff Spiegel, WBMA. This is for Derrick. Derrick, it's pretty obvious when we watch you play your physical strength, but how about your inner strength and your will to compete? Where did you get that, and who would you attribute that to?
I've been playing sports all my life, so I love sports. From the time I was playing in my grandma's yard against my cousins who were older than me, always competing against them, to the time I got a chance to play sports, whether it was football, baseball, or basketball. So, I always wanted to play. I'm playing with my cousins in the yard, trying to beat them. So I just had that since I was a little kid.
Got a question on the aisle.
Lane, Rick Carley, Fox 6. When you took this job a couple years ago, so many Bama fans are out there saying, oh boy, this is not going to work. Kiffin and Saban. What kind of a learning curve has it been for you to work for a guy like this? And do you feel a little bit, maybe perhaps good in knowing that you proved some of your critics wrong?
Well, I don't worry about that. We can only worry about what we can control, and that's getting better as a coach, learning from Coach Saban, from the other great coaches on our staff, continuing to study different offenses. There was a transition, and I think that just becomes from, I don't think that was anything about Coach Saban or myself. I think just being an assistant coach again. There's a transition. You're not the head coach and had been a head coach for a while at a couple different places. So just getting back into that and understanding that role, and also you got to learn your head coach. You got to learn his expectations and how he puts them out for you. And one of the things he does that you understand early on is that he's not going to sit on anything. If he's thinking something, whether it's good or he's upset or whatever, he's going to tell you right away. And he explained that to me one time. He said, I've been around coaches, that sit there and maybe talk about it, but they don't really do anything about it. He's going to always deal with it, and then it's over. You move on to the next thing. So there's just a transition. That's why I talked about the second year. I think it was very critical to come back for another year to continue to learn from him and understand how it all works, and to see where last year was kind of smoother. This year had a little bit more adversity in it, and more new guys playing and things happening throughout the year that he dealt with, and you saw how he managed those.
Okay, this is the final question for in here on the platform on the rear.
Tom Menino, WVTM TV in Birmingham. Lane, I know you've coached in places where there's a lot of pressure to win. I'm sure this is nothing new to you with the pressure to win in Tuscaloosa. How does the pressure to win at Alabama compare to maybe some other places you've been? And also, as a coach, how do you help your players manage the pressure and the expectations outside the program?
Well, I think nowadays, no matter where you are in sports, but especially in college football, there's pressure to win. We see that happening. Coach Saban referred to things within our conference, whether that was Coach Rick winning 9 games and not being brought back, or all the Les Miles conversations, things that happen. That didn't happen, 10 years ago. And so it is the way it is now, so there's always pressure to win no matter where you are. I don't have to do anything with our players. Again, this goes back to Coach Saban and the process, and always teaching them, always helping them grow as student athletes. So there's so many speakers he brings in. There's so many times he addresses subjects throughout the year on his calendar with the kids to help our kids grow.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for your answers. If you go out the door over here, and they'll take you next door, and we'll bring the next group in. In a moment, we'll have Jake Coker, Kenyon Drake, and Richard Mullaney. Thanks, Coach. While we're making the transition, I've got a couple of other pieces of information that might assist you a little bit. Wi-Fi is available here in the Omni Media area, and if you choose to do so, the password is Cotton Bowl, but it's case sensitive, capital C and capital B, all one word, Cotton Bowl, capital C and capital B. Practices for those who wish to cover, 15-minute practice window for Alabama, and a bus will